Aha. Okay. Now it's working. My apologies. Please come on in. Thank you for joining me. I had just a little microphone issue. Now it just got it figured out. Thank you for joining me on the Saga Reveal. I'm your host, Madame Gazelle. So tonight we will be covering the Dawn Angeliqué lawsuit versus Sean Combs, and as well as her case. And then we will be going through the Jaguar Wright in Mar-A-Lago today. This was released on the Madgie Black Owl show this afternoon. And so basically, Jaguar Wright is in Mar-A-Lago with Liz Crocken. And it's going to be quite an evening because she will be receiving an award for her, I'm assuming, her role in helping out other people. And basically what she's been advocating and talking about what's going on in the industry, in the community. And yes, so first, let's get on with the read of the lawsuit from Dawn Angeliqué Richard, who is let me get it here. I did leave a little short bio, and I'll just read it for you guys if nobody had the chance to go through it. So, Dawn Angeliqué Richard was born on August 5th, 1983. She is an American singer, I'm assuming till now, from New Orleans, Louisiana. She began her career auditioning for MTV, and she was part of the Making the Band in 2004, which is a TV show, Making the Band 3, during which she formed a group called Danity Kane, and she released, I'm assuming, if I'm not mistaken, an album or maybe a few more. She was also Richard. She formed the musical trio Diddy, Dirty Money, with label boss Combs, which is Sean Combs. So he was her boss on that label. And also a fellow R&B singer, Kalenna Harper, who was part of the trio, all three of them. And now today, Dawn Angeliqué Richard has a lawsuit. We will go through it. It's a short one. So let me share with you here. Here we go. So this is the United States District Court, Southern District Court in New York. Dawn Angeliqué Richard, plaintiff. She's the plaintiff versus Sean Combs, Harvey Pierre, Remote Production Inc., New Remote Production Inc., the Northern Linder Group LLC, November 15 LLC. Here, all of the names. Diddy's House Recording Studio, Bad Boy Entertainment LLC, Bad Boy Records LLC, Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings, Bad Boy Productions Holding Inc., Bad Boy Books Holding Inc., the Sean Combs Music Inc., Sean Combs, my apologies, Capital LLC, Combs Enterprise LLC, Universal Music Group NV, Interscope, I'm assuming Giffen, A&B Records, Diageo, America Supply Inc., DBA, C-Rock Distilling Companies, she added, DBA C-Rock Canning Co. Companies, Combs Wine and Spirits LLC. Janice Combs, she put his mother. Publishing Inc. Janice Combs. Publishing Holding Inc. Sony Songs, a division of Sony Songs Publishing LLC. Love Records Inc. Epic Record, Doe Corporation 1 to 10, and Doe Defendant 11 to 20. Those are all the defendants for this case. So, plaintiff Dawn Angeliqué Richard, Mrs. Richard, by and through her attorneys, the Bloom Firm and IP Legal Studio, LLC, brings this action against defendants. Ms. Richard alleges upon knowledge concerning her own experience with, my apologies, I'm going to lower my microphone here. Concerning her own experience and upon information and belief as to all other matters. So this is all on her experience, upon information and belief as to all other matters, what she's alleging here, because this is alleged, right? And this was filed last year on September 10th. So preliminary statement number 1. Angeliqué Richard, known professional as Dawn Richard, is an American music singer, songwriter, and a performer. She gained widespread recognition as a member of the girl group Danity Kane, formed by defendant Sean Combs and Mr. Combs, and later transitioned into a key member of Mr. Combs' band Diddy, Dirty Money. Defendant Combs, a once celebrated hip-hop mogul, particularly known by his stage name Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, Diddy or Love, skyrocketed to fame in the late 1990s and became to a powerful and enduring figure in the music industry and entertainment industry. In 1998, Mr. Combs explained the origins of his stage name in the USA Today interview. His nickname was Puff because he had a temper and was known to huff and puff when he was angry. Over the decades following his rise to fame, Mr. Combs' star-studded, larger-than-life persona overshadowed his vicious temper and pervasive acts of violence directed toward those in his inner circle, especially women. Mr. Combs' namesake, temper frequently manifested in physical violence. Mr. Combs regularly hurled objects in fits of rage, often throwing items such as a mobile phone, laptops, food, and studio equipment across the room or at people. On numerous occasions, Mrs. Richard witnessed Mr. Combs brutally beat his girlfriend, Mrs. Cassandra Cassie Ventura, Mrs. Ventura. His persistent abuse included choking and strangling Mrs. Ventura, striking her with his hand and with objects, slapping her, punching her, and throwing items at her, including a scalding hot pan. On many occasions, Mrs. Richard tried to intervene, offering Mrs. Ventura support and encouragement to leave Mr. Combs. Each time Mr. Combs learned of her effort to help Mrs. Ventura and became enraged, threatening Mrs. Richard's life with statements such as, "You want to die today? I make a N go missing, and I end people." Ooh. Compounding Mr. Combs' violence acts and death threats, he flagrantly exploited Mrs. Richards' musical talent as a singer and writer while withholding her rightful earning, stealing her copyrighted work, and subjecting her to years of inhumane working conditions, which included groping, assault, and false imprisonment, among other violations. For nearly a decade, Mr. Combs manipulated Mrs. Richard with mantras and submissions to his depraved demands was necessary for her career's advancements, instilling in her the belief that such abuse and exploitation were required for female artists to succeed in the music industry. It was not until Mrs. Ventura's bravery in coming forward that Mrs. Richard realized her own personal suffering was tied to the many years of abuse by Mr. Combs that had become normalized for her. As more women courageously come forward, plaintiff has been empowered by this collective strength and now adds her voice to the growing chorus of victims bravely sharing their harrowing stories. Together, they seek justice and stand in solidarity. The latest victims of the Me Too movement in the music industry. Mrs. Dawn Angeliqué Richard is a resident of the state of California and was employed by defendant Remote Production Inc., New Remote Production Inc., Bad Boy Entertainment LLC, Bad Boy Record LLC, Bad Boy Entertainment Holding LLC, Bad Boy Production Holding Inc., Bad Boy Books Holding Inc., the Sean Combs Music Inc., Sean Combs Capital LLC, and the Combs Enterprise LLC, hereinafter collectively Bad Boys Record, from 2005 until 2012. At all relevant time herein, Mrs. Richard met the definition of an employee of defendant Bad Boy Records and related entities. At all relevant times herein, Mrs. Richard was a resident of the state of New York. Defendant Combs, upon information and belief, resides with the state of California. At all relevant times herein, Mrs. Combs met the definition of an employer of Mrs. Richard under all relevant statutes. Defendant Harvey Pierre, Mr. Pierre, upon information and belief, resides within the state of New Jersey. At all time relevant herein, defendant Harvey Pierre was the president of the Bad Boy Entertainment and Bad Boy Record in New York and met the definition of an employer of Miss Richard under all relevant statutes. Defendants Remote Production Inc., RPI and New Remote Production Inc. and RPI are Delaware Corporation and television production company, which, upon information and belief, were created by Mr. Combs to produce making the band in New York and in California. At all relevant times herein, RPI and an RPI employed Mrs. Richard under all relevant statutes in that state as well. So defendant, the Northern Group LLC, is a finance firm with its principal place of business in New York, and on information and belief, it was employed by other named defendant herein to pay and account for Mrs. Richard pursuant to her employment with other named defendants. On information and belief, the Northern Group LLC formed November 15 LLC for purpose of distributing funds relative to making the band. Upon information and belief, defendant Daddy's House Records Studio Inc. is a New York corporation and a music record studio owned by defendant Bad Boys Records in New York. At all relevant time herein, Mrs. Richard was an employee required to work at said studio. Defendant Bad Boys Entertainment LLC is a music, media, and entertainment company founded by defendant Sean Combs, which includes all of the records labeled Defendant Bad Boy Records LLC. Defendant Bad Boy Entertainment LLC is a Delaware limited liability company and successor in the interest of the RPI. At all relevant time herein, Bad Boy Entertainment LLC met the definition of an employer of Mrs. Richard under all relevant statutes. So each one will be named here. Defendant Bad Boy Entertainment Inc. is a Florida corporation. At all relevant times, herein Bad Boy Entertainment Inc. met the definition of an employer of Mrs. Richard under all relevant statute. Wow, each one of them. So I think I'm going to go slowly and skip this because now we have Bad Boy Entertainment Holding Inc. in New York as well. Upon all the information, yep. So upon information and belief, defendant Bad Boy Entertainment Holding Inc. is a successor in interest to defendant Bad Boy Entertainment LLC, Bad Boy Record LC, and Bad Boy Entertainment Inc. as all alleged here. So these are all interconnected, all of these companies, and mentioning each one of their location. So as you can see, even Janice, the Wines, the Spirit LLC is here. Here, let's go through Mrs. Combs to make sure. Defendant Janice Combs, which is Diddy's mom, Publishing Inc. that she owns, is a music publishing administrator and a New York corporation who at all relevant time held and holds the publishing copyright of Mrs. Richard, pursuing to her employment with other defendant herein under all relevant statute. So now we can see the mom has the publishing copyrights of Mrs. Richard. Also here, defendant Janice Combs, Publishing Holding Inc. is also a music publishing administrator of the New York Corporation and a successor in interest of Janice Combs Publishing Inc., who at all relevant time held and holds the publishing copyright of Mrs. Miss Richard pursuant to her employment with other defendant herein under all relevant statute. And then we got Sony, who also does the same, which includes the mom. Wow. And the Love Record, which is his last record that he did. Epic Record. Okay, we're done with that. So Richard, the jurisdictions here of the court. They're probably gonna name all the laws. Yeah, okay, no. So the court has jurisdictions pursuant to the U.S. Code 28, 131, and 134. At this action asserts a violation of those USC titles and of this other one here. Oh my God, yeah. And therefore raises federal question regarding the deprivation of Mrs. Richards. So this law is about deprivation. The court has supplemental jurisdiction over Mrs. Richards' related claims arising under the state and city law pursuant to 28. So for every location where she was. So venue is proper in this court pursuant to the 28 USC. Okay, so they're choosing the right one because of a substantial part of the event or omission giving rise to this action occurred in this district. And defendant Combs and Bad Boys Record conducted substantial businesses and or domiciled in this district. So they picked up this district to do this under this 28th United States law. Okay, so factual allegation. What is she alleging? So Mrs. Richard is selected to be in Mr. Combs' all-female music group Danity Kane after competing on the MTV's Making the Band. So in or about 2004, Mrs. Richard was selected to participate in season 3 of the MTV network reality television show, Making the Band. The show centered around the information and development of a new musical group under the mentorship of Mr. Combs. The contestants would compete and be chosen by Mr. Combs to form a band which would go on to create albums and perform. So for aspiring artists like Mrs. Richard, Making the Band represented a concrete path to a career in the entertainment industry. Miss Richard appeared in season 3 and 4 of Making the Band, which first aired in 2005. We'll see the footnote later. And in season 5, Making His Band, which aired in 2009. So let's go check it out down here. Making the Band was a reality TV series that premiered on MTV, and the show had several iterations, each featuring different musical group. The star of season 3 and 4 were Aubrey O'Day, Juanita D, and Woodget, Shannon, and all these girls. And Mrs. Richards right here, known as all-female group Danity Kane. And then there was season 5 with this group, Danity Dirty Money. And there's the trio, Mr. Combs, and he took these 2 other for the band. Okay, let's go back up here. Okay, out of thousands of contestants, Mrs. Richards, along with approximately 12 other women, were selected to participate in season 3 of Making the Band. 5 women, including Miss Richard, were ultimately chosen to be in the group Danity Kane, which was named by Miss Richard. Prior to and including the first Danity Kane album, Making the Band was filmed entirely at Diddy's house record studio on 3120 West 44th Street, New York, New York. The Making the Band content was focused on Danity Kane's work on its second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, was filmed at Daddy's house and at Mr. Combs' Miami residence. Other Making the Band's episode including Los Angeles as a third filming location. So upon information and belief, to create Making the Band, camera crew filmed 24-hour-a-day, gathering months' worth of footages to condense into mere hours of entertainment for viewers. Danity Kane released its self-titled debut album in August 2006 and its second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, in March 2008. Danity Kane's first album sold over 4 million copies. Damage to Miss Richard for unpaid salary are estimated at $1 million. Danity Kane's second album, Welcome to the Dollhouse, sold over 2 million copies. Damage to Miss Richard for unpaid salary and royalty was estimated at $500,000. Damage on unpaid wage for torturing on over 100 dates for Miss Richard with Danity Kane are estimated to $1.8 million. Mr. Combe fired bandmate Aubrey O'Day and Juanita D. Woodgett from Danity Kane on live TV after the eighth of its fame in 2008, which resulted in Danity Kane being disbanded in 2009. Miss Richard's first encounter with Mr. Combe: aggressive, intimidating behavior and animus towards women. During the audition on the set of Making the Band, Mr. Combe projected an aura of superiority, wealth, and power. Mr. Combe regularly wore sunglasses to avoid looking at the female contestant in the eyes, contributing to an atmosphere of uncertainty and intimidation. During audition, Mr. Combe spoke to the female contestant in a hostile, condescending manner, making disparaging gender-based remarks such as calling them fat, ugly, B-word, H-word. Well, he said bitch and hoes. Sorry. Miss Richard felt threatened and intimidated by Mr. Combs' blatant disdain for the young women like herself who were excited for the opportunity to be on his show. Once the band was made, Mr. Combs' contempt for women was readily apparent as he continued to display aggressive and hostile behavior towards Miss Richard. I don't know why I keep saying Mrs., but Miss Richard and her all-female Danity Kane bandmates. Mr. Combe regularly referred to the 5 women as bitches and hoes. I think he is. Anyways. And denigrating their physical appearance. Look at that ugly face talking. Oh my God. By the way, okay, I'm going to not say any more comments. By way of example, Mr. Combs stated that Miss Richard was too skinny and needed to do something about this. Her face. Oof. On one occasion, in or around 2005, I'm going to say this. Dawn, I'm reading this because I want people to know. and not many people reading these. So I'm sharing it to actually bring awareness of what's going on with some powerful people and the possibility that things can happen. This is actually alleged, but we will find out if it is true or not, alleged or not. But we all know that he is in jail right now still. After a whole year, he's been in jail. Why? Because he's a menace to the society. There you go. So, on one occasion in around 2005, during the first season of Making the Band 3, Miss Richard observed Mr. Combs' ex-partner and the mother of 3 of his children, Kim Porter, leave Mr. Combs' recording studio. May she rest in peace. She's passed away. Leave the recording studio in tears with visible facial injury, including a lacerated lip. Realizing that Mr. Combs was capable of committing acts of violence against women, caused Miss Richard to feel deep apprehensions and fear that Mr. Combs could one day physically harm her. Of course, why not? That was the mother of his kids. So Miss Richard was present when Mr. Combs was introduced to Cassandra Cassie Ventura for the first time in and around 2006. The moment Mr. Combs first saw Miss Ventura, his demeanor noticeably shifted. Mr. Combs positioned himself directly in front of Mrs. Ventura's seat, invading her personal space and fixating on her with an intense, unyielding stare, isolating her from the other people in the room, including Mrs. Ventura's then boyfriend, music producer Ryan Leslie. Coincidentally, the first meeting between Mr. Combs and Mrs. Ventura was the first time that Mrs. Richard was in Mr. Combs' presence without a camera crew filming, observing Mr. Combs behave in such an intimidating predator manner. The first time that they were off camera made Miss Richard feel deeply apprehensive and afraid of him. Subsequently, Mrs. Ventura ended her relationship with Mr. Leslie and began dating Mr. Combs, who would become violently abusive towards her, which we all saw on CNN. Danity Kane, sexual harassment, inhumane treatment, and denial of basic needs by Mr. Combs. So that's when she was part of the group. For the majority of Miss Richards' tenure as a member of Danity Kane and Diddy's Dirty Money, Mr. Combs required her to remain on his various residence and studio in New York, Los Angeles, Florida, and New Jersey for activities such as recording, rehearsing, dressing, preparing costumes, and exercising. Throughout the production of Making the Band 3 and 4, Mr. Combs deprived Miss Richard of her Danity Kane bandmate of basic needs such as adequate food and sleep. When Miss Richard and her Danity group bandmate requested meal or rest, Mr. Combs refused and chastised them with derogatory comment like, "You bitches don't want this," or "Y'all are not hungry enough, and I'm paying you bitches to work." The demeaning behavior gradually undermined Miss Richards' confidence and contributed significantly to her growing feelings and insecurity and sorry, of insecurity and fear of reprisal from Mr. Combs. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs would regularly be awake for prolonged period of times because he was high on drugs. During these periods, Mr. Combs demanded continuous access to Miss Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates, often forcing them to record and rehearse for stretches of 36 to 48 hours without a break, forced to choose between eating and sleeping. Miss Richard lost a significant amount of weight, weighing approximately 100 pounds at a weight of 5'4". Miss Richard began to normalize these extreme conditions and perceive them as a standard requirement of her participation in the Danity Kane. Mr. Combs regularly sent his associates to wake Miss Richard and her Danity Kane bandmates in the overnight hours so he could watch them rehearse. The regularity of these disturbances led Miss Richards to adapt by sleeping in a sitting position, fully dressed with makeup on. Wow. Heightening her anxiety. Over time, this abnormal sleeping arrangement came to feel routine, further normalized Mr. Combs' invasive demand. In addition to exhausting rehearsal, Mr. Combs required Miss Richard and her bandit to participate in intense workouts with a personal trainer. On one occasion, while running on the beach, Miss Richard became so dehydrated that she vomited. Instead of offering medical assistance, MTV Network's camera crew filmed the incident, contributing to her acceptance of such treatment as part of her professional life. The unrelenting and rigorous schedule of rehearsal, performance, and near constant filming that Mr. Combs imposed caused Miss Richards to experience extreme weight loss, dehydration, fatigue, and painful rashes on her microphone pack she was required to wear on her back. Wow. These conditions, oh my God, I intensified Miss Richards' feeling of powerless as she increasingly viewed them as part of her professional reality and feared the consequences and resistance. In a further assertion of power and domination, Mr. Combs insisted on holding meeting while dressed only his underwear. Oh, so Mr. Combs insisted on holding meeting while dressed only his underwear. With his underwear, just that's all he's wearing. On one occasion, 2008, at his Miami residence, Mr. Combs emailed Miss Richards directing her to meet him in the living room. When she arrived, he was wearing only his underwear. Miss Richard asked Mr. Combs to put clothes on, but he refused, stating, "This is my house." For Mr. Combs, my house. Mr. Combs then conducted a meeting lasting approximately an hour while dressed in his underwear, causing Miss Richard to feel violated and embarrassed, and amplified her feeling of powerlessness. Wow. Following the official Danity Kane breakout in 2009, effective effectuated by Mr. Combs, Miss Richard experienced significant financial hardship with no prospective opportunity from employment within the entertainment field. Miss Richard spent several months traveling from Baltimore to Daddy's house record studio in New York without pay or allocated budget. Mr. Combs promised Miss Richards composition compo- sorry, Mr. Combs promised that Miss Richards' compositions would result in payment of license fees and royalty pursuant to her contract with Bad Boys. However, no such compensation was ever reported or paid by Miss Richard. Damage relative to these continued copyright infringement will be provided at trial. All right, so I'm going to stop here at page 12 because it's already 7:45, and we're going to continue this next week. All right, so this couple of pages. So now let's get on with what I saw today on the MAJI show. Let me find it. It was amazing. Hopefully, I'll be able to find it. Yes, it was such a long day. They had like an 8-hour video. Oh my God. So I'm going to have to skip it for you guys. Okay. Let's see. Yes, so today Jaguar Wright showed up and she was with Liz Crocken. So let me find it. It was at 1:05 roughly. Okay, let me find it. I hope they will understand. I don't want to steal their content. I just want to share, and I will try to be very respectful with Madgie. Madgie, I hope you do know I am not trying to steal anything. I just want to report on the good stuff that's going on your channel, and it was quite special today. So let's share this. Let me get on. Close this file. There we go. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, let's get this going. All right, so this was on the MAJI show. We're on her channel, and I'm going to find that part that I'm telling you. Let me get here. Let's go.
There's nowhere to go with this because the truth is,
Alrighty.
they are women
So
who
here
use
it is.
Yeah,
They are
like
girls. They are
they
girls.
suck.
And I agree with you, Maggie. They are butt hurt, butt hurt, butt hurt.
For me, they're either because I'm starting to think because Danny Robertson yesterday started talking also about rat shit while talking about Too Strong. And I'm like, is there like a multi-level type of
Wait,
like
I got the wrong one.
organization?
Let's get out here. Give me 1 sec, guys. Let's go find a video. This was live today. Aha. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yes.
Behold, my name is Maximus entertainous, and I come to you with big stars.
Go 105 here.
I don't know.
The charity when
This is
we're like it. So I'm sorry
and
if you
Ralph.
felt.
Do-do-do-do-do. Go find it for you guys. Let's rock and spark. I love it. When did it happen? It was just before here, yeah.
Listen, maybe 30 to 40 minutes of the video, and then I went live, and I was just like, "What are you even saying? You're so pathetic."
Let's find this. Oh
You
my
know,
god.
what's pathetic is anybody that can
Yeah,
listen
hold
to it
on.
or understand it.
It was
'Cause
quite
that would
something.
only
Oh,
prove that you just as
here
crazy as he
too.
is. Bubba Gump lies.
Exactly. I'm not gonna lie.
Got a different lie every day of the week.
Oh, Ralph the Wise is here.
Oh, Jesus.
I got it.
Ralph. Cool.
Ralph talked to all three, and he couldn't tell the difference.
He admitted that he knew it was like they were the same person.
You know, have fun.
Right.
Troll hunting. You're doing a great job. I'm gonna
Thank
eat.
you. Thank you.
We love
Oh
you.
yeah, it is right there.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great night.
You
And it was
deserve
lovely meeting you, dear. Thank you.
You too. You deserve it. Have a great night.
I'm looking at.
You're there for all of us.
Yeah.
This is what they're letting her know. Oh my god, yeah.
So yeah. Funny you turned my word that fast. You said that. Stop it, Ralph. Funny you helpful.
I've talked to all of these.
Oh yeah, you got it. Wow.
Said this yesterday, but for those that weren't here, Ada is now. She's now. But
Finally.
Moving forward, you know,
Aha, I found it. It's
Trying
just
to understand. But yes, Ralph, are you here?
Yes, I'm still here, but Jaguar wanted her moment, so we're gonna let that be Jaguar's moment. She wants
Oh,
her
honey, I
moment to
don't need a
boast and
moment.
vote.
I don't need a moment. My
No,
Here we go. Okay. That is Liz Crocken.
on YouTube, right?
We
You
haven't.
to someone.
no, I wasn't being negative.
Right,
about
right.
it, right.
I'm-
So
and she
Can I
said-
what
introduce
actually
you
happened?
to someone?
Hello,
But,
Jack.
Yeah,
I know.
y'all
Well,
have
they're
a great
live
one.
on YouTube right
Y'all
now.
have a great one.
Ralph, wait.
Jack, can I?
So here's Jaguar.
I
Ralph,
wanted to
And this is-
introduce you to a friend of mine.
go.
I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, it's Liz Crokin.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi
How are you
guys.
doing? You okay?
We are sitting here in Palm Beach. Jaguar, poor Jaguar, she was on a flight all night. We have a fundraiser tonight at Mar-A-Lago for our foundation that combats child sex trafficking. I'm here with Ben Moore, he's our lawyer.
What's up? How are y'all doing?
We are enjoying life. Jaguar is going to be the highlight tonight. I think she's going to be a big hit. I'm so excited for her to be here. Everyone is just dying to meet her, and it's going to be a night to celebrate heroes, and she is one of them. So, all right,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Amazing.
I am so happy to meet you. You're
This is what I wanted to share with you guys. Because, hey, my number one is here. Okay, we're at the best part. This is Liz Crocker with Jaguar Wright at Mar-A-Lago. And apparently Jaguar is performing for a fundraiser. And there you go. She just said it. It is for a great cause that she's been fighting and battling for many years. And this is why she has been on YouTube on the Madgie show, because Madgie is helping figuring out a lot of the gossips from the truth, and they're finally there and doing it. So let me just rewind this. This is a big deal because last week I said these ladies were the MAJA for me, the Make America Jag Again. MA for Madgie and Ja for Jaguar. But yes, Jaguar said it in the past, make America Jag again. And you know what? Today, I am so happy that I was right, thinking, oh my God, she might end up in Mar-A-Lago and be one of our little ambassador, or I should say, our biggest ambassador out there, especially in the sex trafficking world, the music industry. She has been in that world all her life, unfortunately. And fortunately, she decided to keep an eye and stand her ground. So, for those of you who don't know her music, one of my favorite, I'm going to try to find it for you right after. But this is Liz Crocker. And let me tell you about Liz. Liz was also Kim Porter's connection about the book. So now, well, let me tell you, to see her and Jag, and then they're in Mar-A-Lago, and I know Jag's been getting all kinds of threats and being trying to be censored all the way to where she went on when she went on the Piers Morgan show. And actually, Piers Morgan got a cease and desist from Jay-Z because Jaguar says that Jay-Z's worse than Diddy. So let's see and let's wait and find out everything in due time. But one thing for sure, Jag is my ambassador for the music industry, and Madgie is my gossip girl. She knows what's right and what's wrong, what's true and what's false, and what's fake, and who's mentally a little bit disturbed. Find ways to make people talk. And basically, they kind of like spill all the goods on themselves. I don't watch too many of those because it's a little bit too much drama. But I definitely like to watch when my Jaguar is there and they're sharing about what they're doing. And she's been working on this. I remember when Jag said that she asked her fiance if she can tell us a secret, and he said no. And now I know this was the reason she was holding on to this. She had to keep it tight until the right moment, let people think what they want. And eventually now she's at Mar-A-Lago with all the Secret Service around her, where nobody can reach out to her, stop her from doing anything. So
Poor Jaguar, she was on a flight all night. We have a fundraiser tonight at Mar-A-Lago for our foundation that combats child sex trafficking. I'm here with
child sex trafficking, to combat child sex trafficking.
He's our lawyer.
What's up? How are y'all doing?
We are enjoying life. Jaguar is going to be the highlight tonight. I think she's going to be a big hit. I'm so excited for her to be here. Everyone is just dying to meet her, and it's going to be a night to celebrate heroes, and she is one of them. So
she is definitely a hero.
all right,
Thank you
guys, I'll
so
give you
much.
back.
I am so happy to
Maybe we'll
meet
check
you.
in
You're
later.
correct.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Love it. Hello, Jack.
Mar-a-Lago. Who defunk
Huh?
it? I said Mar-a-Lago. Who defunk it?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
This is
So
amazing.
Ralph,
Ralph, I want you to do yourself a favor.
There we
I want you to
go. So this was one of my favorite part, and I'm gonna try to skip it
I guess little movers are up to.
and find something that I wanted to also point out at about a few minutes later. Down here. Here.
man who is so trigger happy to sue anyone. Like right now, he's suing Jay-Z for 20 million. And yet, except being mentioned in um, a Diddy lawsuit that had no relevance to even really mention her, like mentioning I'll Be Sure was way enough, but he needed to put Jaguar Wright's name over and over and over again in it
It's a
so
lot of
that the
people.
YouTubers could go and start saying that Jag was gonna get sued.
Yeah.
What is
Exactly.
suing her?
And the
While they're reporting, and it's the same thing when the whole like you have to understand people the tooster.
Let's see what else we
No, no,
got
no, no, no.
here.
There was never any lawsuit
Oh, there
about
she
her. That's
is.
the thing. If she was on the road and have to tell him and stuff, you right now that
The first.
Let's go back
okay,
here
did I
again.
hear a sound or am I crazy? No, okay. Hello, Jag.
Yes.
I didn't realize the other me was still up there all this time.
Here's beautiful Jag. Let me just try to remember this part. Yeah.
So what's
This
going on? I just
Vulcan.
tap in because you and I really didn't get a chance to talk and have a chat about what the after show was going to look like for the first Q&A about the first episode of Jaguar Wright, the Tammy Wallace story, and so we got a bunch of stuff going on. So yeah,
Yes,
I'm hoping that
we're
you're going to be able to like walk everybody through all the behind the
yeah.
scenes stuff here at Mar-A-Lago.
Oh my God. I'm saying right now that Jay-Z is probably having an explosive diarrhea at the idea that you and Liz Crockett are in the same room. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to leave it right there. But you know what? Yeah. These ladies were able to stop a lot of the gossips online. They try to ruin her reputation. Nobody even knows her. This girl is from Canada. But yeah, I mean, she let people talk, and eventually they denounce themselves, and they get themselves in trouble on her channel. And there's Jaguar always getting all the information cleared out and letting people know that's what's a lie, what's AI, and what's true. So I want to say kudos to the ladies. Today's show was amazing. I definitely enjoyed it. And I wish her all the best. It will be on her channel if you guys want to check on the Jaguar Wright's Effect channel. There's another one where she has, you will find it in my description of both of her channels and Maggie's channel. Link below. Okay. And there we go. So what is next? Finally. Oh, Canada. Now we know what's going on. So yeah, 51 state or China, 51 state or Russia, 51 state or the cartel, 51 state. No wonder this was put in our face like that, because somehow this was probably also part of the national security interferences going on and national security's secrets. So let me just say this. Definitely big problem. Now we are a fentanyl supplier nation. It is sad. It is crazy. Our government is a drug dealer, basically, for us to have a big giant warehouse that was able to create so much. I don't know if anybody of you have seen the video on Pierre's website, actually X. He posted it online for all of you to go and see. Nobody needs TV news because they don't report on anything, or CBC, right? So let me just go here on X. Here showed us what they were hiding. Yeah. Poilievre. They were hiding fentanyl. Let's see. He made a huge video of what's going on. You know? Fentanyl. Canada. Here. Unbelievable. Pierre. Here we go. Let me just pass it on here. There it is, 2 years ago. Pierre said, I warned of the deadly consequences of liberalizing fentanyl and other hard drugs in this video. And government said, we don't care. We're drug dealers. We need to give them clean drugs. It's better than dirty drugs. Well, the NDP Liberal attacked him for that. And nobody wanted to listen. And look at the nightmare now. Ban the drugs, he said. Shut down the drug dens. So a lot of wolves in that den. Lock up the traffickers. Secure the border. There you go. This is Canada. Let me share. Let me get back here and share it properly. Share the screen. There.
You ever feel like everything's broken in Canada? I mean, here we are. Most beautiful place in the world, beautiful British Columbia, the Pacific, the Vancouver skyline, and another tent city. In that tent city are people hopelessly addicted to drugs,
This
putting
is
poisons
Canada.
in their bodies. They've probably lost
Western
their homes,
societies.
their families. They've lost control of their lives, and
Turning
they
into a
might lose
slum.
their lives altogether. Just today we learned that British Columbia is on track to have over 2,000 drug overdose deaths this year alone. That is a 300% increase from 2015 when Justin Trudeau took office. These are Canadian citizens who are losing their lives. They could be your sister, your brother, your daughter, your son. They could even be your parent.
Yes. And nobody cared. Well, this is why Trump said, well, 50, you guys want to be the 51st state? He asked us. He didn't ask Trudeau. Trudeau has other people he wants to sell us out to. So we haven't heard much about the prorogation, which I wanted to check on. Let me see the prorogation, what happened, because we only know that it ended last week, so there still hasn't been any updates, right? Yeah, there we go. So let's go check Canada's prorogation. Let's see if there's any update. Let's see. Yeah, breaking news. Nothing. Was 6 arguing. So, breaking news, James and it was successful in arguing the motion to expedite the court. So that was it. The last, I guess we haven't gotten much about it. I'm going to check here quickly. Yep. So far, nothing. And yeah, we will find out soon. So yeah. A lot of people would have seen this coming. What's going on? As a Canadian, I saw this coming. And as a Canadian, I'm still hopeful because one person is at least working hard there and many others. And it takes one and many others to eventually help. So even though Trudeau was our, how can I say it? This was from our own, we need to learn our mistake. We can't let people mesmerize us with their look and pretend they will do something when they have no substance. We can't just take people for their looks or for their words, but we should be taking people for their actions and their characters. We shouldn't be looking at people because they have a nice hairdo today, or they're wearing the best suits, or they have a nice watch. We should be looking at people at if they're doing good, what they're bringing, right? So with that, we'll continue on next week with the read for Dawn Angeliqué Richard, who's another victim of Diddy's. Mr. Sean Combs. And by the way, Sean and Jay-Z did not win anything. The case was dismissed without prejudice, I believe it said. They can always come back later, or who knows, maybe they'll get a settlement if the settlement looks like it's going somewhere. There's a lot of possibilities. But one thing for sure, nobody won anything, especially not Diddy and especially not Jay-Z. So keep it real, guys. With that, I would like to say have a lovely evening. Thank you for joining me on the reveal. We were able to cover Dawn's 12 first pages of her lawsuit. Canada is not going anywhere for now. And hopefully the prorogation will hold and the government will be told that they were not legally allowed to do this prorogation for this election, because election does not have anything to do with the reason to prorogate parliamentary, especially after the threat that you got just before you resign, Mr. Trudeau, that our country could be in some auction somewhere, and that if you didn't protect our borders, and that would prove that, yes, there's others also involved. Thank you, Trump, for snitching. Because now we know a little bit more about our national security issues that we've had that we cannot see because it's private and it's secret, but we know now. Thanks to you, and because also Pierre changed his campaign, and it sounds like those would be a national security information. Our borders would be China, Russia, our MPs being threatened, coerced, or even being spies. But with that, in due time, we will take over this beautiful country and secure it with Pierre. And all I can say, good job for being ahead on everything, election, campaigning, talking to people, creating your own Twitter videos. And it's amazing because nobody's watching CBC, nobody's watching any CTV, City TV, and they would definitely not broadcast your materials with all the money you could even give them. So smart move. And I would like to say good night to all.